Ilechukwu should also might also be in the hands of affair starting from this year for Plateau United. What's expected from Gbenga Ogbubote, Plateau United and Fidelis Ilechukwu?
Well, I think it's a fierce battle between these two. They are the two of the most relevant coaches in the MPFL as we speak. You can talk about Fidelis Ilechukwu, who did so well, last season also, and has been you see here and there, and has always been in the news for being one of the best coaches in the MPFL. Recently won the league title, and that says a lot about his consistency. You can't all get it correct at every year. So, there are times you would things will not work so fine for a coach, and you just might leave your team. And for Gbenga Ogbubote, for 3 years he spent in Ibadan. There's a lot of people would say, oh, we deserve more, but I think he delivered in one way or the other. He was in the top 5 for 3 seasons. That says a lot about his consistency and what he was able to achieve. The only thing that was missing was the fact that he failed to qualify the team for the CAF Champions League and the Confederations Cup. Something that most people would really love to see from him. But then I would have loved to say to the Ibadan people that it was just a process that was unable to complete. The team was transitioning from the first season to the second and to the third season, and one would hope that by the fourth season, that was meant to be this year, this particular season, that a few more quality players will come into the team and a few more tired legs will be let go, and then we'll have a complete team for Shooting Stars. Unfortunately, that did not happen. And that led to the exodus of so many players at Shooting Stars. And I think by the time Nuruddin Areweru came back, they had just about 15 players in their ranks. I mean, that's so short of an average MPFL team, and they had to recruit. Yes, big kudos to Nuruddin Areweru, but we cannot take anything away from what Gbenga Ogbubote was able to do. I mean, they set the tone for what we currently see, and he deserves his credit. So between Fidelis and Gbenga Ogbubote, I think Plateau United will be having a competent coach at the helm of affairs. I mean, there's a difference between you just coming out of the blue playing one season and people think you are a very good coach, and you going through the ranks, from the NLO to the NNL and then down to the MPFL, and then it's not just that you are just one of the coaches they call also ran. It's been there. He's been able to finish in the top class in the MPFL. So for me, I think he has a lot to prove. And going to a team like Plateau United that are really struggling this season, I think for Gbenga Ogbubote will be working with some of the players he's worked with before. Most importantly, Monday Gideon, that was a former Shooting Stars player. He played here last season. So that says a lot about how well he's going to blend into the team without needing to do too much. So for me, I think between Fidelis, whoever gets the nod between Fidelis and Gbenga Ogbubote, I think it's going to be a fantastic one for Plateau United.
All right, let's move away from that and let's talk more transfer. Let me inform you that the transfer window for the MPFL is from the 1st of January to the 30th of January 2026. It's been a massive exodus right there for Kun Khalifa, the new bees right there in the MPFL. The new boys, Kun Khalifa, have announced the departure of 3 key players during the mid-season transfer window. Henry Ezeonye, Oche Moses, and team top scorer Ebuka Nwokere have all left the Owerri-based side. Samson Balogun, I'm sure, it's when I got the news this morning, I was all smiles. I'm wondering, how do you let top players like this go? And I can understand maybe financial situation, because earlier this season, we got the report that Kun Khalifa wanted to also sell their slot, and they wanted to leave the team, but there you have it, they're still in the MPFL, and I guess they have no choice than to sell their players. For you, what does this say about the business for Kun Khalifa going forward for this season?
Well, I don't think this is business. I think this is suicide. That's not business for me. I think Kun Khalifa just committed suicide. In fact, I see them drowning more and more. This is coming from a team that had to sack the whole technical crew because of bad performance, and you had the effrontery or the temerity to let 3 key players leave your team. That's only, for me, shows lack of ambition from the team. I think the ambition they had was just by mouth. The owner of the team just wanted to be seen. I want to be there. Let them know that I own this particular club. But then it's not like he had vision, a long-term vision for the team. And that for me is disastrous for a team playing in the MPFL. And this I consider them to be one of the teams that rendered the MPFL to be a joke. I mean, how do you do this at this time of the season when every team are trying to stock up and get more quality players and add them to their ranks, and then you are selling your best?
Selling your players.
I mean, no reasonable team, no reasonable owner of a football club would want to sell at this time. I mean, we've seen situations where teams like West Ham United were in their need of money. Even at the time, Birmingham City was in the league, but then during the January transfer window, they were able to hold on to their players and say, look, even if we are going to sell these players, let's confirm that we are relegating. And then I think that season, Derby County, there was a season Derby County had just 12 points all through the season. But then, even at that, they did not sell their key players, mid-season. They waited until the end of season, so there was mass exodus at the end of the season because they knew they were going back to the relegation, and they had no reason to hold on to some key players who would fit into the EPL at that time. So that's what I expected from Kun Khalifat. But unfortunately, they just proved what they are, what some people perceive them to be, pretenders in the league. And
come on, for me, I didn't even see them as pretenders because they didn't show a certain fight. If you had to call somebody a pretender, maybe we're talking maybe Nasser.
No, I want you to get the definition of when I say the pretenders in the league. I'm not talking about
maybe fighting for the title.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. They were just there. Let's just make the numbers, and by the end of the season, we'll go back to where we're coming from. That's what I see from Kun Khalifat. I had doubt about the owner in the first place.
Yeah, you did.
And I wanted to talk about, if you are able to let all the technical crew go because you feel like you deserve better results, that means there's a little bit of ambition in there. But this for me just confirmed my fears, which means that there's no ambition anywhere. Yeah. It's just about clout. I mean, just let them know.
Let them know that there's a certain name
we're here
in the MPFL.
So, and I think just like some teams who came in the past, they came same season and they left the same season. That's what we're going to see. I mean, I'm not an angel of doom. I don't carry bad news. But for me, Kun Khalifat, they are a gunner. If you are doing this, I don't know how you want to replace these 3 key players and bring in new players, and they are going to fit in straight into your squad, in 5, 6, 10 weeks. It's next to impossible. So I think they have committed a big mistake, and they are going to pay dearly.
Okay, let's see how that one's going to pan out for Kun Khalifa in the second half of the season. Teams are already getting ready. You've seen trainings from Rivers United. Shooting Stars are getting ready for the big game against Eyimba right at the Lakers Salami Stadium. Other teams also are preparing for the second half of the season. Definitely, we'll be giving you more update on that scene from the MPFL. Moving away from that, let me inform you that the defending champions, Remo Stars, have completed their training ground and they're ready to take flight in the second half of the season. They're excited, for this new phase for them. And trust me, this is a phase where, they want to be come the second half of the season. Santo Balogun, you look at the stadium and you expect a brilliance, from, Honorable Kuleshoname, fantastic, one from his side, what he has been able to do with Remo Stars. And look at this, edifice. For you, it brings more stability. Do you think this will, churn out, more results for Remo Stars going into the second half of the season? Looking at where, they are in the first half of the season, struggling back in their home turf, what can they produce in the second half of the season? Well,
aside from the fact that, the challenges of retaining the title weighed so much on their shoulders, and they have had so many, apologetic performances this season. I think one of the challenges they have faced is that they played away from home. There's nothing is as sweet as playing, even when you are losing and you are playing with your fans right behind you. It gives you a level of understanding, a level of competence, a level of hope that you can still turn things around. You can imagine you are losing 1-0, 90 minutes, and your fans are still busy, making noise, chanting and saying, "Look, we know you can still do this." Such things do happen. Look at Chelsea against Manchester City recently. They played poorly for 90 minutes, but look at what happened in 92nd minute. They got a goal off Enzo's boots. So that says a lot about playing where a lot of people are supporting you. Yeah, they played away to Manchester City, but they had a huge number of their fans in the stadium. But for the Remo Stars, you have seen how they have played away from home this season. You see that the stadium usually is scanty. And, you know, one of the reasons they lost scandalously in the CAF, you know, competition was the fact that the fans were not there. They had to import. And some of them are not really, they don't understand the tradition or the pattern with which Remo Stars is to be supported. So I think that was one of the challenges they faced. And if Remo Stars is to go back to what we used to know, which is a truth in the MPFL, the first step is to play at home. Yeah, and when we say play at home, it's not a rented ground. It's your own stadium. And one of the things that stood them out so far this season is that it's not like they borrow stadium from any community or borrow stadium from any university or borrowed stadium from the state government. They've been playing in their customized pitch before now until they had to renovate. It's not like they had any suspension or whatever. They just felt like this stadium is not befitting of Remo Stars as a champion. So let's do, you know, a facelift, and that's what they've been able to do. Fantastic. And going back home, I think about 50% of their problems will be solved because they will be playing on their own top. The rest is to be sorted out by the technical crew and the coaches. And I think that for me might not really work, you know, this season anymore. They've got a few more. The second half of the league is to start, you know, next week, and when that happens, they will struggle a little bit. But then, eventually, maybe by the time they play 5, 6, 7 games, yes, they are going to get their mojo back, and then things can work better for them. All
right, let's see how the defending champions will be able to pick up all just major points on their own turf this season. We'll be expecting that, and definitely we'll be giving you updates, you know, from that front. Let's move away from that. Let's talk about the AFCON. We are straight into the quarterfinal stage of the AFCON at this point in time. Yesterday, Algeria had to nick it through, you know, extra time against DR Congo, you know, who proved a dominant side until late in the extra time. They had to, you know, leave out that one 1-0. That one ended in favor of the Desert Foxes, Algeria. And also, let me inform you that Ivory Coast, for me, you know, have done fantastic, you know, this AFCON. And right there, Amad Diallo in the nick of things for Cote d'Ivoire, actually, and against Burkina Faso. The game ended 3-0. Santi Balogun. Let's move away from that. Let's talk quickly about the next phase of the competition. There you have it on the screen. Is upon us at this point in time. Fantastic game to look forward to, and trust me, exciting times. Let's start with the Desert Foxes, Algeria against the Super Eagles Nigeria. You look at what Algeria have done, just 1 goal conceded, you know, in the AFCON, and their main goalkeeper, that's Zidane, the son of Zinedine Zidane, has not conceded any goal, you know, at this AFCON. And for you want that formidable side for the Desert Foxes against the Super Eagles, who, you know, has been leaking goal aside from the last game, right? They have to see this game pattern for both teams. So remember, Algeria was the team that knocked us out, you know, of the competition in 2019. Do you see us doing a revenge, and how do you see the team set up going into with the old issues within Victor Osimhen and Ademola Lookman? Quickly.
Well, first of all, let me start by saying the issue between Ademola Lookman and Victor Osimhen was purely about the idea of we can do better, right? And one player seemed to have a passion for the game than the other. And then, you know, sometimes immaturity can actually play a role in what's going on. You know, you can be passionate and immature at the same time. That's exactly what happened with Victor Osimhen. He knew what he was saying. Ademola Lookman at that point was at fault, because you scored 3 goals does not mean that you have to take your legs off the pedal and then say, oh, we are cruising. Yeah, because that happened against Uganda. They stopped playing, and then Uganda had to equalize, and he didn't want that to happen, because if you look at what has happened so far for the team, most of the times when a shot goes to Wabali, it ends up at the back of the net, and it was really livid about, oh, let's score more goals, even if we concede, we know we've got leverage. That was what he was thinking. His complaint, if you check quite well, he wasn't saying, oh, pass the ball to me. He was saying, this is a group game. So when you see a player, give the ball to. In fact, at that point, the very last one Ademola Lookman did, Victor Osimhen was not even in position to score a goal, because he was right, you know, close to the goalkeeper, and there was an empty space where the right back, Bright Osai Samuel, was, you know, moving in. They expected him to have released the ball, but Lookman was looking to dribble and then get the shot away. Unfortunately, he couldn't do that. He tried to give the ball to Victor Osimhen, who was way out of position. He couldn't do that too. So Victor was really livid about, oh, you could have actually given the ball to someone else if you knew you couldn't do it. So he had the right to complain, but he did not have the right to scold Ademola Lookman on the field of play. That was way out of his league.
Yes.
Even Wilfred Ndidi as the captain wouldn't
yes,
have done
yeah,
that.
yeah.
The coach wouldn't have done that right there and then. It probably would be a pep talk. Oh, call him to the side of the pitch and say, look, you could have done this this way, this that way. And then even if it comes to scolding him, that would be in the dressing room. Unfortunately, Victor Osimhen thought he was, he was in a position
to do that.
Because yes, and I understand the fact that most of the times when the Eagles fail, the pressure comes, lies solely or maybe mostly on the shoulder of the best player in the team.
I don't agree.
And
I'm sorry, I don't agree.
It does.
Because for me, that's one of the most easiest job in the pitch of play. Yours is just to get the service, position yourself properly, and get the goals. You look at what
that's not the
engine room.
Because you complain
you have to look at what the engine room and the defense are also doing.
Now,
it's major
listen,
work for them.
if you look at the Super Eagles team,
yeah,
who is better than Victor Osimhen in that team?
They are better players than Victor Osimhen because they've not just been given the opportunity to perform better.
In that the current team.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
In the current team, a better player than Victor Osimhen.
I do not agree with you. If an Aqua Adams get the position to play on a regular, I'm definitely.
I do not agree with you. Aqua Adams should have done that with Sevilla and be the African Footballer of the Year. That is what he should have done. Let him do it with Sevilla.
So my question now
I do not agree with you.
So my question now,
whatever he has done, he deserves his flowers.
I'm asking. I'm not taking anything away from the flowers of Victor Osimhen. I'm asking the question now is, how many opportunities and where did Aqua Adams start playing for Sevilla is the question. You can't compare an Aqua Adams that just came out of the fray at this point in time.
How old is Aqua Adams?
How old is Victor Osimhen?
How old is Aqua Adams?
How old is Victor Osimhen?
What I'm asking you is,
yes, the question now. What you're asking is a better player, and they didn't have ample time. They did not have an ample time on the. Come on.
So where is Aqua Adams? Where is Victor Osimhen? So whatever Victor Osimhen has achieved at this time, that tells you about how much of consistency he has had. I'm not exonerating him for what he did, but what I'm saying is, he feels that the pressure comes to him more because
look at what I agree.
And definitely, I'll cite an instance for you. Cristiano Ronaldo is usually the most energetic player in the Portuguese national team, even Real Madrid when he was at Real Madrid. And he feels more pain than every other player when they lose. That's the same thing with Victor Osimhen. He feels more pain. He's still pained that he's not going to play at the World Cup. So that, for me, was a compounded stress for him. And he felt like, if we are not playing at the World Cup and we are still going to keep losing chances at the AFCON, which is a tournament we should win, he had a reason to believe it, but he had no reason to scold a fellow player. That shouldn't happen. For me, it shouldn't have happened. But then the fact still remains that, sometimes some players feel they've got more responsibility in the team, that people will blame them more than any other player. And we've seen that happen a lot of times. They got blamed, in so many cases in the past games, and it felt like that was going to happen again if they lose the tournament or maybe crash out of the tournament. So he had a reason to complain, but he had no reason to scold any player. It's not his job. You are not even the captain. So that, for me, is not your role.
All right. I don't know if we can have the chart of the quarterfinal stage quickly before we wrap up the show. We cannot have the chart of the quarterfinal stage quickly. It's going to be a feisty one. There you have it on the screen. Senegal are going to take on Mali. We're also going to have Egypt take on Cote d'Ivoire. We're going to have Senegal we're going to have Cameroon against Morocco, and we have Algeria against the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Definitely, we'll be here tomorrow to discuss that properly as time permits us on the show. Let's move away from that quickly. Let's talk more stories from the camp of Chelsea. Yes, Liam Rossignol set to take on the job for Chelsea. Samson Balogun, do you expect this man to thrive? Looking at the record where he had with Strasbourg, 63 games, 32 wins, 14 losses, 17 draws, 109 goals scored, 81 goals conceded, 7th in League One in 2024-2025 season, and also in 2025-2026 season, 7th in League One currently. Do you expect him to thrive, with Chelsea, and looking at what is actually going on in depth with the management of Chelsea?
Well, I think something is wrong somewhere. Something is wrong with Chelsea as a football club. Something is wrong with the management, and something is wrong with the owners. And the era of since Roman Abramovich left, I think they have had to manage with the era of average. They do most times average players most times average coaches, and that for me should change, right? So it's an idea that really should not happen. But I see a potential disaster. He might not live up to expectation. In fact, he will not live up to expectation. He's another Maresca in the making, and definitely will get fired. 6.5 years contract. I pray he uses 2 years before he gets fired from the team. That's what I say.
All right.